You started an amazing company. My wife is a huge fan. She's just obsessed with it. She got me hooked on it, actually. She's the one who found you guys and was like, we need to get this. Tell us about the company.
Yeah, so we do spring water and reusable glass, and it's been a really fun journey sourcing the best springs and creating custom glass that makes a really easy solution for people to get the best spring water delivered without having to be wasteful with throwing away containers or having to go through the energy intensive cycle of recycling that requires a lot of energy to ship it back to the recycling place, melt it down, then ship it to the manufacturers. Most bottled spring waters, almost every single one, are processed with ultraviolet light and or ozone gas. And what that is done for is shelf stability, so the water won't turn green when it's sitting in a hot warehouse or months old, years old sometimes. The problem with that is it potentially destroys healthy microbes, probiotics. So I started going to local springs that I found on Find a Spring, this really great database of cold springs, publicly created database, and I just immediately felt amazing, could really feel the difference from alive water, just straight out of the earth. I was driving from Topanga Canyon near LA all the way to Big Bear. It was about 3 hours one way. And it was this really great spring, just collecting water in 5-gallon glass jugs in this wooden trailer that I made. We actually had to find a different spring. We actually went to one in Ojai, California, and we had to hike 500 feet up a mountain and pipe down with hose all the way to the bottom to fill jugs. And while we were doing that, then I went on a multiple month journey to find the best spring water on the entire West Coast to provide for people, and we found Opal Springs in Oregon. And the business grew and grew and grew, and then we found a really great spring that could actually meet the demands that have enabled us to grow so much now, so that we deliver to over 3,000 different families. That led us on a journey to find a more sustainable, scalable solution, and also have a place that could really do a good job cleaning the bottles and storing them and scaling more. It's been a joy to get to create the custom glass jugs and dispensers, pitchers and cups, and really awesome portable water bottles and bags as well.
And the glass is so beautiful. I mean, it really is sort of a staple of the brand.
Glass is the best, of course, no plastic leaching.
Talk to me about the water itself.
When we test our springs that we deliver to homes and businesses, we do a super comprehensive test for all industrial age contamination. It's pretty interesting actually, because a lot of these springs have absolutely zero contamination, and I think they're actually a primary water source, which is this idea that the water is created in the Earth's crust through a chemical reaction, and then it comes up as brand new fresh water that's never even been on the planet before. It's like this Earth's natural way of cleansing and purifying itself.
New water is being created.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
I just assumed that all the water on the Earth has been here.
Yeah.
Created however long ago, and it just cycles between ice, different phases, right? The different phases of water.
Yeah, so primary water has so much evidence, and it's really cool because it gives us optimism that the Earth can purify and cleanse itself. And one of the ways that we know that something is primary water is by testing for radioactive fallout, because when they started detonating atomic bombs, it left radioactive isotopes in the atmosphere. So most water has this in it when you test it. Primary water doesn't, so that's how we know.
Wow, that's very interesting. I did not know that. Good.
Yeah.
How do you get a spring? How do you find the ability to have access to a spring so you can do what you do?
It's unfortunate. A lot of these big companies do privatize springs and they just take the whole thing, and a lot of times communities will say that they see their local stream beds starting to dry up because they're taking it from the springs that then feed into other tributaries, or a lot of times they're pumping from aquifers just so much. And that's one of the reasons why we have committed to only taking a very small percentage of the springs that we do utilize. And they're also very prolific. The one in Oregon actually flows 108,000 gallons per minute.
Yeah, so what's your distribution range? What if you're in Idaho, or can you deliver to New York? Can you obviously Oregon.
From San Diego all the way up to Santa Rosa, north of San Francisco on the West Coast. And then we also offer delivery here in Austin, Texas, down to San Antonio, and then Miami up to Fort Lauderdale. And the other thing we offer is glass. We ship glass to anywhere, so people could go on findaspring.org and find a good local spring and then get one of our 2.5 gallon glass jugs and just fill up themselves pretty much anywhere. We always tell people, if you have a great spring, healthy, with good minerals that's nearby, use that as your first best option before getting delivery from us, because we definitely pride ourselves in offering our water super fresh. It goes into cold storage until it's delivered, and it's delivered within usually a few days, but there's nothing as fresh and rewarding as just going to collect it yourself.
Yeah, I'd love for you to come check out the springs that we have here on the property and get your feedback on how we're doing there.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them. My friend Jen Isabel, who's also a really prolific water expert, is going to join us.
Even better. So this has been my focus for the past while, about a year. We've been getting this part of the land restored and working on a number of water collection and treatment projects. So we started pulling water from that pond. That's Upper Mama, by the way. So we're pulling the whole volume of that pond 11 times a day through this wetland system which we built, and it's just basically through biomimicry mimicking a wetland system. So it's going through big boulders and stones, and then smaller stones, and eventually river rock coming up, being oxygenated the whole time, creating little micro eddies and flowing up this way, and then hitting the sunlight, and then suddenly now you have room for life to grow. So we have filter plants and filter fish that are starting to clean out the water, and of course the algae loves it as well. So as the water comes up and then naturally flows back through gravity back into the pond, it's cleaning it out more and more and more. In fact, it's cleaning out so much that we can now see to the bottom, which we couldn't before.
Beautiful example of biomimicry. It's like Victor Schauberger said, his #1 rule is comprehend and copy nature. It's the #1 thing to understand when it comes to any kind of water treatment, or if you don't have access to a spring and you want to take regular swag water and bring it back to spring quality, just comprehend and copy nature. We can mimic what happens at a spring, or in this case, mimic what happens at the wetlands, and give water what she needs.
Our goal is to take all that water, slow it, and then charge the land here in the aquifer so that we can utilize it on its way to the river ultimately. And this is one of the systems that we've built to help do that. But this is not the springs. You want to see the springs? Well, let's go this way. This is also as we were talking about, an aesthetic invitation to connect with nature. So it's not just doing a job of purifying and cleaning the water, but it's also doing a job of giving us a nice sense of calmness and well-being and just experiential beauty.
One of our concepts is, of course, advocate for farm to table and also advocate for spring to glass.
I like it. That's good. That's good.
If you can find a spring head, like where it's actually coming out of the earth, then that makes it more likely that there could be a good place to drink from. I would test it first.
Yeah.
Yeah, but looks clear and could be great. Not everyone has springs on their land or
I know.
the time to go to a spring, so if you look at something like reverse osmosis water, like it's really pure in the sense that there's hardly anything in there, but it can actually strip minerals from your body because water is the universal solvent, so it wants to just go back to its natural state, and yeah, it can be really dangerous.
There are so many things happening at a spring that we have to understand and then recreate after the step of filtration. So you can start with something like reverse osmosis or distilled if you really need to, if you're starting with a really toxic water and you have to clean it somehow, but that just creates an empty, what Victor Schauberger called immature water, and we need to have those maturing influences to kind of bring her to her full maturity, so she has more to give and she's not just taking from our bodies, leaching the minerals like you were talking about.
Beautiful explanation.
I think that's a great way to conclude. Thanks so much for coming out.
Thanks so much for having me.